Okay, welcome everybody. So welcome to our first Water Wednesday of 2022. Thank you everyone for being here tonight. I hope you enjoyed tonight's program. Water Wednesdays are East Bay Mud's monthly webinar series where we deep dive into water and wastewater topics of interest. Just some minor housekeeping. Tonight's webinar is being recorded, and by participating, you are agreeing to be part of that recording, although we can't see your face. We will be posting the recording on our webpage, ebmud.com/waterwednesday within 2 weeks of tonight's event. So tonight's Water Wednesday is called Working in Water, and we're going to be discussing all of the wonderful water and wastewater workers who ensure you reliable wastewater service 24/7. My name is Catherine Horn, and I'm a community affairs representative with East Bay Mud. I work in our public affairs department, and I've been with East Bay Mud for almost 6 years. My role is representing East Bay Mud in the community, including conducting community outreach for our capital projects, our pipeline projects, working science fairs, tabling events, and coordinating fun events like the one tonight. And since we are going to be discussing careers at East Bay Mud, I have to mention that we are currently hiring 2 6-month-long temporary community affairs representatives, one in our public affairs office, like myself, and one in our recycled water department. So if you're interested in doing what I do, please check out ebmud.com/jobs. I'll just give you a brief overview of tonight's agenda. So first, we're going to hear some opening remarks from Clifford Chan, who's our East Bay Mud General Manager. Then we're going to be hearing from Stephen Curry, Human Resources Analyst 2, and he's going to be talking about diversity, recruitments, and getting hired at East Bay Mud. And then finally, we're going to be having an East Bay Mud employee panel discussion where we're going to be featuring 6 employees from East Bay Mud of various classifications who are going to be talking about what got them in the door at East Bay Mud, what they love to do at work, and how you can become involved also. And then finally, we're going to be having a question and answer session. So you may see the question and answer feature within the Zoom. Feel free to send in your questions as we go, and we'll try to get some of those answered in real time. And then some of them we'll be asking at the end. If you do have any questions that didn't get covered tonight, or if you think of something later, please feel free to email us at waterwednesday@ebmud.com. I'll also be sharing that email address at the end of the program. And so I would like to get an idea of what brings everyone here tonight. So I'm going to be conducting a brief poll. It looks like some of you have already filled it out. Thank you so much. So if you haven't, please feel free to fill out the poll tonight so we can get an idea of what people are interested in, what brought you here tonight. I'll give you just a second to do that. And with that, I am going to turn it over to Clifford Chan, our General Manager, who's going to be opening up tonight's program and talking about the future of the workforce at East Bay Mud and his own experience working for East Bay Mud. So thanks, Clifford.
Thank you, Catherine. I want to welcome everyone to the first installment of this year's Water Wednesday webinar series. Last year's series covered a range of topics, including drought, water quality, and fire prevention. And for our first Water Wednesday of 2022, I thought it'd be good to focus on one of the most crucial aspects of our business, the people who make it happen. When I think about water in California, and especially in the East Bay, I think about the people who built and maintained the water system. Many of those people also built the communities we live in today, like the Crocker Highlands in Oakland, and landmarks like the Claremont Hotel. They are mayors of cities, including Oakland and Berkeley, the governor of California, and we have streets and schools named after them, like Chabot College or Havens Elementary School. The first water systems in the East Bay started popping up in the mid-1800s, over a half a century before East Bay Mud was formed. The communities grew where water was most accessible. By the early 1900s, dozens of water companies came and went. Each struggled to provide a reliable water supply, maintain water quality, or keep water affordable. So in the early 1920s, California passed the Municipal Utility District Act, or MUD Act. And in 1923, the people of the East Bay voted to form East Bay Mud as a not-for-profit government agency. Today, East Bay Mud has about 2,000 employees. Now, you may think that we only have plumbers working at East Bay Mud, but in fact, we have hundreds of job classifications. That includes electricians, carpenters, truck drivers, engineers, accountants, lawyers, rangers, gardeners, surveyors, software developers, graphic designers, chemists, and biologists. It takes a diverse group of people to keep the water flowing and the wastewater treated in our community. Most of our employees work in the East Bay and Alameda and Contra Costa counties, but we do have employees in 6 counties, including Sacramento, and 3 counties in the Sierra foothills. And if you compare East Bay Mud to other utilities, we're the 2nd largest water retailer in California and the 12th largest in the nation. Now, I'm often asked, why would you want to come work at East Bay Mud? And in a nutshell, it's about great careers, great work, and of course, great people. When you come to East Bay Mud, it's not just a job, it's a career. And there are so many opportunities to grow personally and professionally. I want to tell you my story. After I graduated from college, I started in consulting, working on environmental remediation and geotechnical engineering projects. The work was interesting, but I worked long hours, I traveled a lot, and I couldn't spend as much time as I wanted with my family. So I wanted to find a company that did meaningful work, was challenging, but where I could also have a good work-life balance. My wife was actually the one that told me about East Bay Mud. At the time, all I knew about East Bay Mud was that they were the water and wastewater utility. I applied, I went through the interview process, and was offered a job as a junior engineer working in the geotechnical engineering group. The junior engineer is an entry-level position here, and I'll be honest, I didn't know what to expect when I started. But what I quickly learned was that the work was challenging, the people I worked with were smart and dedicated, and there were so many opportunities to grow and move around in the company. East Bay Mud had, and still has, a tuition reimbursement program that allowed me to take classes so I could grow professionally. To give you an example of what I mean when I say that there are opportunities to move around, when I look at my career, including my current position, I've held 9 different positions here at East Bay Mud. And those types of career opportunities aren't limited to engineers. One of our managers started his career as a utility laborer. He became a plumber and then a foreman. He took classes while he was here at East Bay Mud and eventually got his college degree. He later promoted to an assistant superintendent, a superintendent, and now is the manager of the largest maintenance division here at East Bay Mud. The junior engineer and the utility laborer are 2 examples of positions that allow people to start a career here at East Bay Mud. But there are others, including carpenters, gardeners, clerical staff, plumbers, customer services, and rangers, just to name a few. And once you get here, we have training programs to make you journey level craftspeople and programs to help you grow and become leaders in the company. We've even partnered with our local community college and bring professors to our offices to teach our employees about business, math, and communications. And they get college credits that they can use towards an associate's or a bachelor's degree. And this is all paid for as part of our tuition reimbursement program. Like I said at the start, when you work at East Bay Mud, we want it to be more than just a job. We want you to make it your career. The other great thing about working at East Bay Mud is the work that we do. Our mission is to protect the environment and provide high quality, reliable water service at fair and reasonable rates. You can live without electricity and gas. You can live without cable and television. And my kids may disagree with me, but you can live without your cell phone. But you can't live without water and wastewater treatment. Without those 2, the community we live in couldn't exist. So what's involved with the work that we do? Well, it starts with water quality and managing where our water comes from. We manage over 58,000 acres of watershed land in the East Bay and the Sierra foothills. The water is stored in one of 7 reservoirs, 2 in the Sierras and 5 in the East Bay. The water is then treated at one of 6 water treatment plants. From those treatment plants, it's pumped or delivered by gravity to about 165 drinking water tanks. And to get the water to your tap, under just about every street in the East Bay are our pipes. In fact, we have 4,200 miles of pipe. If you strung all of our pipes end to end, you can go from the Oakland A's Coliseum to Chicago's Wrigley Field and back again. And some of that water that you use, you flush down the toilet or down the drain. Before East Bay Mud, that sewage went straight to the bay. In the 1940s, there were articles about the great stench in the San Francisco Bay. But by 1951, we began operation of our wastewater treatment plant located at the foot of the Bay Bridge. Today, there are a lot of challenges we have to deal with, including climate change. Climate change is putting a lot of pressure on all aspects of our lives. And one of the first things that will be affected is our water supply. So we're working hard to address the impacts of climate change. And we're also working hard to deal with our aging infrastructure. And to make things even more challenging, we have to do all this and keep our water affordable. So how do we do this? Well, we have to innovate. We get to work with companies to develop new products to help us solve our problems. We get to collaborate with other utilities to share ideas. And last year, we entered into an agreement with UC Berkeley to create a Center for Smart Infrastructure. The problems we're dealing with today are really too big for any one of us to solve on our own. But by partnering with other utilities, with vendors and academics, I'm confident we're going to be able to solve these problems. So if you care about the environment, if you care about protecting public health, if you want to be part of the solution to climate change, East Bay Mud is the place to work. We are here so the communities we serve can thrive. Finally, I want to talk about the great people that work at East Bay Mud. When the pandemic hit 2 years ago, we knew that having access to clean water was essential to combat COVID. All of our employees are essential workers. We kept working throughout the pandemic. I've had the opportunity to work with the thousands of employees at East Bay Mud, from the field staff to the office staff to the operators in the control room. And what strikes me the most is how smart, energetic, hardworking, dedicated, creative, and innovative our employees are. It takes a lot of people to keep East Bay Mud running. And without each and every one of us, without the plumbers who fix the pipes, without the engineers who design our facilities, without the accountants and rangers and operators, without each and every one of us, our operations couldn't work. Our employees care about their work and they care about the communities we serve. Now, looking at the future workforce, I do see some challenges, but I also see more opportunities. Like most companies, we're seeing many retirements, many of whom were with East Bay Mud for 25 plus years. While this leaves gaps to fill, it's also an opportunity for us to think about the next generation of East Bay Mud employees and the next generation of leaders at our company. We want to be competitive and remain an employer of choice for today's top talent. We know we're competing with private companies and tech companies in the Bay Area. The new workforce has different expectations and needs, and we have to adapt to be able to attract and retain talent. Of the few good things to come out of COVID, we learned that we could do our work differently. Not unlike other companies, many of our office staff were able to work from home. We adjusted and are continuing to adjust. For almost 2 years, most of our office staff have been working remotely. And as we transition out of the pandemic, we're going to continue that hybrid workplace. Finally, East Bay Mud is committed to the East Bay community, and the workforce should reflect our community. Our Office of Diversity, Equity, and Culture is ensuring that East Bay Mud is a place where everyone feels welcome, respected, and heard. Our first speaker is Stephen Curry, who works in that office. Stephen will talk about some of the initiatives we're taking to ensure a diverse workforce through both hiring and promotional practices, and he'll also talk about some upcoming recruitment opportunities. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Stephen.
Thank you, Clifford. As mentioned, my name is Stephen Curry. I work in the East Bay Mud Office of Diversity, Equity, and Culture. Coming up on 4 years at East Bay Mud, and I'm focused on diversity recruitment, workforce development, and related community partnerships. I can't see, oh, here it comes. Got a presentation slide here for you. Over the past 2.5 years, East Bay Mud has been developing a formal diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI, strategic plan. Through that planning process, we've identified our DEI vision, that our workforce reflects the diversity of the communities that we serve, that all employees, contractors, and customers are valued, included, and have a voice in our long-term success, and that a person's identity does not determine their outcome or successes. Our mission is to cultivate diversity, advance equity, and work inclusively. Our strategic plan for East Bay Mud DEI consists of 5 strategic pillars: leadership commitment, workforce diversity, inclusive culture, supplier diversity, and social responsibility. Today, we'll focus on the workforce diversity pillar. On the next slide, you'll see that through our workforce diversity strategy, intentional and focused effort is made to attract and retain applicants from diverse and underrepresented groups. Our goal is to achieve and maintain a workforce that is equitably representative across levels and functions. So what does that look like in terms of actions? These can be divided into two categories: expanded recruitment and expanded career pathways. We want to attract more qualified and diverse talent into East Bay Mud, and we want to help people grow and develop once they get here. We're committed to expanding recruitment through partnerships with community organizations and education institutions. Examples include our partnerships with Civicor, JVS, Goodwill, Alameda County Social Services, Cypress Mandela Training Center, Laney College, Los Medanos College, UC Berkeley, our local school districts, and Baywork, a collaborative of over 40 water and wastewater utilities found in the Bay Area, focused on staff preparedness and candidate development. We're also committed to expanding the way we promote our jobs and careers through social media and other tools. We're looking to create a more user-friendly application process while maintaining our civil service hiring rules that ensure a fair and equitable process for all candidates. Finally, we want to make sure everyone understands the career opportunities and career pathways here at East Bay Med. It's not just about landing a great job, but finding a great career where you can grow and advance, which brings me to expanded career pathways. We're committed to increasing the number and accessibility of our internship and trainee positions. These are entry-level positions that are accessible to people who don't have a lot of work experience in their chosen field. Examples include our community trainee program, our skilled trades internships, maintenance trades training program, water and wastewater operator trainee program, student internships, engineering aid, and seasonal ranger naturalist 1 positions. We're also planning to expand the kinds of career learning opportunities we offer, including formal facility site visits, informational interviews, job shadowing, and mentorships, so more people can understand the various career ladders and pathways that East Bay Mud has to offer. Finally, we're committed to expanding professional development and skill development for all our employees to help them prepare for career growth, promotional opportunities, and adapting to meet current and future challenges. Some examples of this include our Peralta College's cohort program that helps our employees earn college credits in a group setting alongside their peers. Our tuition reimbursement program that provides up to $3,500 per year for each employee. Our staff preparedness workshops in partnership with Baywork, and our partnership with BACWI, Bay Area Consortium for Water and Wastewater Education, which provides scholarships for students pursuing education related to water and wastewater operations and maintenance. On the next slide, you'll see the EB Mud organization. Under the direction of Board of Directors, East Bay Mud has over 1,900 employees. And Silver are the groups that provide strategic leadership and oversight for East Bay Mud. That includes the offices of the General Manager, General Counsel, and District Secretary. On the right side in blue, you'll notice our water system departments that manage and protect the land around our reservoirs, maintain the 4,200 miles of water system pipes, and design our water system facilities and pipelines. Shown in green, our wastewater department not only ensures that the marine life in the San Francisco Bay is protected from human waste, it's also a national leader in turning waste into energy. Shown in orange at the bottom, our business services departments manage our budget, oversee our computer systems, and provide quality services and support to our employees and valued customers. On the next slide, you'll see that East Bay Mud is always hiring. New jobs are posted every Monday at ebmud.com/jobs. Here's our most updated upcoming recruitments flyer. These are just some of the major recruitments that are either currently open or will be open in the coming weeks or months. There's actually 2 different temporary community affairs rep recruitments and a temporary administrative clerk position that are currently open for recruitment. The application deadline for these positions is this Friday at 4:30 p.m. 2 quick tips. First, don't wait till the last minute to submit your application. The online portal can get a little laggy in the last hour as everyone's hitting submit. Can take up to 15 minutes for the application to be processed by the online system. Second, temporary positions can be a great way to get your foot in the door at East Bay Mud. Also on this list, you'll notice several entry-level recruitments, including Ranger Naturalist 1 and Student Intern for Public Affairs. Both are temporary positions that can be excellent opportunities for students or recent grads. You'll see our utility laborer, customer service rep 1, janitor, and water distribution plumber. These are all very popular recruitments and where many of our current employees started their own East Bay Mud careers. Why are these so popular? Some of these start as high as $71,000 per year and require little to no experience and no formal education or specific training. So on the next slide, how do you get connected to one of these opportunities? You have to submit an online application during the recruitment period, which is typically just 1 to 2 weeks. If it's a recruitment that's currently open, go to eastbaymud.com/jobs, click on current recruitments link, which will redirect you to governmentjobs.com, our online application portal. If it's a recruitment that's not currently open, there's 2 things you should do. First, go to ebmud.com/jobs, click on the applicant registration and login link. This will redirect you to governmentjobs.com again, set up your profile. Once you're in the governmentjobs.com application portal, use the drop-down menu, select job descriptions and salary information. Every job that exists at East Bay Mud is listed there, A to Z. You'll be able to review typical duties, minimum requirements, salary information, and most importantly, you can sign up to receive email alerts whenever the recruitment period opens for that position. Sign up for the email alert for each position that you want to be alerted about. By the way, you can get to the job descriptions and salary info through the job resources webpage as well. The job resources webpage also has a lot of other valuable resources for you. There's career ladder pathways information. This shows you how you can grow and move up along specific occupational pathways. There's water distribution plumbers, administrative clerks, water and wastewater treatment operators, engineers, accountants, IT, and a bunch of other career pathways to check out. Job resource page also has application tips, frequently asked questions, and even a sample recruitment test. All these resources will help guide you through the hiring process. If all else fails, we also have our East Bay Mud Jobs Hotline, which you can see there at the bottom of the page. Hiring process and tips for applicants. On the left side, you'll see the typical steps in our hiring process. Most positions at East Bay Mud are civil service, which means that in our hiring process, everyone gets a fair opportunity to apply for and be considered for every recruitment. This takes time, and it's important for applicants to be patient throughout the process. Depending on the job you apply for, our process may vary, but can include some or all the 5 steps listed there. However, every recruitment starts with the online application and ends with either a panel interview and or a hiring interview. There's more information about our hiring process on the jobs resources page that I mentioned previously. On the right side are tips to help you through each step of the hiring process. Number 1, sign up for email alerts. We covered that earlier. 2, set up your online profile in advance. You don't have to wait for a specific recruitment to open to complete your profile. Number 3, ask someone to review your application materials. Get a second set of eyes, checking for completeness and accuracy. A common mistake we see: do not write "see resume" on your online application or as an answer for your supplemental questions. You'll get 0 points for that. Refresh your skills to prepare for the testing process. For entry-level jobs, focus on math, reading comprehension, and test-taking skills. Number 5, prepare for the interview by practicing what you want to say and how you want to say it. You got to get comfortable talking about yourself. Read the job description and supplemental questions to prepare for the interview. Number 6, don't give up if you're not successful with your first application. Consider getting your foot in the door at a lower level position or in a temporary limited term position. If this is an industry you're really interested in, apply for jobs with other water wastewater agencies. The experience you gain there will help you be competitive for any agency, including East Bay Mud. Check out baywork.org/jobs. It's a great resource for connecting to opportunities at other utilities and to learn about water wastewater careers in general. I encourage you to connect with the community organizations listed here who have been assisting job seekers with applying for jobs at East Bay Mud. JVS, Goodwill, Civicor, Alameda County Social Services can help you with navigating our application portal and the overall application process. Some even have programs that can help you with job training and build up your work experience. We're planning quarterly virtual online career events with these organizations to keep the community informed about upcoming East Bay Mud recruitments, to make sure everyone has the support and guidance to put their best foot forward. JVS, Jewish Vocational Services in particular, is offering online math refresher test prep classes that are happening over the next couple of months. That's all for me for now, and I'm going to hand this back over to Katzev.
Thank you so much, Stephen. Now we're going to introduce our panel members tonight. So tonight, I think we may be missing one, but we have 5 panel members for you who are going to be introducing themselves and talking about how they got hired on at East Bay Mud, a little bit about their background, and any kind of tips that they want to share in terms of getting hired. So we're going to have Jamie, who's an assistant engineer in our construction division. We're going to have Eric, who's a graphic designer too, in our engineering services division. Navneet, who is our senior software engineer. David Katzev, who's a senior civil engineer in pipeline infrastructure division, and Gistan Williams, who's an assistant construction and maintenance superintendent. And we might have Virginia Northrup, who's one of our senior ranger naturalists, or she might be out there in the wilderness helping out our watershed. So I'm not sure if she's going to be able to log on tonight. But with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to turn it over to Jamie Sweet, who can introduce herself.
Okay, there we go. Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Jamie Sweet. I'm an assistant engineer currently working in construction. I've worked in pipeline construction, planning, process engineering, and now I'm in construction. And so I've been at the district for almost 4 years now, but it's gone by pretty fast. And what I do day to day is working directly with the contractors. So kind of serve as a vessel between East Bay Mud and contractors as we're building different structures. Right now, we're working on two large reservoirs. And so my job is primarily in the field with a little bit in the office and reviewing different specifications and drawings just to make sure that what we designed a few years ago is actually built how we want it to be built and that it makes sense. And my educational background, I got my degree in environmental and civil engineering. And then also a lot of my experience has come from internships and just being out there with the crews and the different people who are actually doing the job. So I've had some education background, but also a lot of hands-on experience, which has helped me to be better at doing my job. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. And now we're going to turn it over to Eric, who's a graphic designer too here at East Bay Mud, to introduce himself a little bit and talk about his background.
Hi there, my name is Eric Fiebig. I'm graphic designer too, and I've been at East Bay Mud for about 3.5 years. What I do here at East Bay Mud with my fellow graphic designers, we've got 4 others on the team. We, InDesign, Photoshop, Illustrator, we create kind of the visual language of East Bay Mud. When you see billboards out in the wild by the Bay Bridge, when you see the customer pipeline newsletter in your bill, the biannual report, which just came out recently, go to ebmud.com/biannual report to check that out. But even the smaller things we do day to day, like the rate change forms, the rebate forms, maps that go out to the ratepayers for construction in their neighborhood. We touch a lot of stuff that has to do with, like I said, the visual language of East Bay Mud. My educational background, I started off in computer science and migrated over to the art side of computers. And after getting my degree in computer arts and animation, I did some freelance for a little while, built up my portfolio, and then worked for a few worked as an in-house graphic designer for a few different places till I found myself at East Bay Mud, where just like Clifford said, this feels like a career where those other places felt like a job. So happy to answer any more questions.
Great, thanks, Eric. Now we're going to turn it over to Navneet, who's a senior software engineer.
Hi there, my name is Navneet Warwick, and I am a senior software engineer with the Information System Department at East Bay Mud. I've been with East Bay Mud.
Oh, Navneet, I think your audio is a little, you sound like you might be underwater or something. Try again.
Can you hear me any better?
No. But why don't we go over to Gistan and we can come back to you. Okay, so Gistan, who's an assistant construction, sorry, Assistant Construction and Maintenance Superintendent. Oh, I think you're on mute, Gaston. Somebody had to do it.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, good. Sorry about that. Good evening, everyone. My name is Gaston Williams. I'm an Assistant Construction Maintenance Superintendent in Pipeline Rebuild. I've been at the district for going on 11 years now. And what I do in Pipeline Rebuild, we have 12 crews. We primarily focus on infrastructure renewal, which we have 12 crews, and we replace our old pipe that we have in our infrastructure that we're trying to last another 100 years. Our current goal is 20 miles a year. Last year, we exceeded that to 23 miles. So we had a very exceptional year last year. And this year, our goal is 20 miles again, and it raises again to 22 and a half next year. So we have a lot of work to do. And we have a lot of good careers here for everyone to take part in. My educational background is, as Clifford was saying, I am a graduate of our cohort program that we have here at District that we partner with Laney College and brought the professors to the district. And we put a group together, and we had a real great group. Everybody graduated from that program. Currently, as Clifford talked about, using our tuition reimbursement program to take more units and work towards getting my degree. And I do have some certification of a distribution operator certification from my classification, which is I have a D2. It only requires a D1, and that's the distribution license. In my work experience, I came to the district as a heavy equipment operator. When as a journey level heavy equipment operator, I worked in pipeline rebuild or pipeline for about 6 years. And then I started to move around, and eventually I went back and as I got more promotions. So it's a great place to be. I'm really excited to be a part of this afternoon and answering any more questions that you guys may have for us.
Thanks so much, Gaston. And just a reminder to everybody, if you have questions for our panel members, please, you can start putting them in the Q&A, and we will be asking those once they've completed their introduction. So I'm going to go to David Katzev, and then we can circle back to Navneet after David. David?
Yeah, thanks, Catherine. Hi, everybody. I'm David Katzev. I'm a senior civil engineer here at East Bay Mud. In terms of my education, I have a bachelor's in engineering from Tufts University back in Boston, Massachusetts. I have a master's in engineering from Oregon State University. And after I finished my education, I went off and was a high school teacher for 8 years. After I was a high school teacher for 8 years, I got back into engineering and worked for a consulting firm, a few different consulting firms for 5 years. And now I've been at East Bay Mud for about 16 years. I also work in pipeline rebuild very closely with Gaston. So Gaston talked about our 12 crews out in the field putting pipe in the ground. My group, the engineering side, I lead that effort. We put together all the design plans. We work with all the different counties and cities to work with permitting, to get our projects all prepared, organized for construction. Like Gaston said, we're shooting for 20 miles again this year, and we're going to continue to ramp up our replacement rate because we know that's critical to get our distribution system running and in good form. You know, besides working on the design, the engineering side, I also get to work with innovation. We actually take a close look at everything we do at East Bay Mud in the pipeline rebuild program. From the planning to design to construction, we look to see how we can do things better. We try to innovate at every step along the way. We get to work with universities, we get to work with manufacturers, different vendors, different utilities across the country. We are always searching for that better way to do our work. And that's one of the most exciting things about my job, because I know that I have support from up above to kind of search for those innovations. And they will listen to our ideas in terms of what we want to try, test, evaluate, and push forward as something new for us to do. So it's a really exciting place to work. I love working here. I love making a difference in the community each and every day. And I'm looking forward to questions. So put them up in the chat, or we can do it afterwards, Catherine. So thanks.
Thank you, David. Okay, so Navneet, we're going to try your audio again. And then after Navneet, I believe we have Virginia on the phone.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Virginia, we'll get to you in just a second. So Navneet's going to introduce herself.
Okay, can you hear me okay now? Okay, let's try
Yes.
this. Hi, my name is Navneet Work. I'm a senior software engineer with the Information Systems Department at East Bay Mud. I've worked for East Bay Mud for 15 years now. The first 7 years, I worked for the engineering department, and then I moved on to working for the Information Systems Department. My educational background is that I have a master's degree in civil engineering with focus on programming and software development. While I was doing my thesis, I developed an interest in programming and how it can help solve civil engineering problems. After graduation, I started to work for a software development company in San Francisco. I used to work late hours until 11:30 p.m. in the night, and that motivated me to look for another job. I joined East Bay Mud because it was great. It has a great work-life balance and an opportunity to serve our community. And it has a lot of opportunities to grow within East Bay Mud. For instance, I've used East Bay Mud's tuition reimbursement program to gain certification in advanced project management at Stanford University. My day-to-day work involves translating user needs into web-based applications. For instance, creating a customer notification application where we have a workflow to notify our customers in case of an emergency. We have a variety of programming languages at East Bay Mud, C++, Java, Python, .NET programming. Our latest language that we're using is Ruby on Rails. We have also started working on cloud technologies at East Bay Mud. East Bay Mud is a great place to work. It has a great culture of inclusiveness, respect, and teamwork. Well, I'll be on the call today, and feel free to ask any questions you may have.
Fantastic. Thank you, Navneet. Okay, I'm going to, let's see if we can unmute Virginia. Okay.
Hi,
Yep.
you asked for Virginia?
Yes. So, so for those, we have Virginia Northrup, who's a senior ranger and naturalist. I had a picture of you up earlier, Virginia, and mentioned that you might be out there saving our watershed right now. So I'm so glad you're able to call in. So if you could introduce yourself and give a little bit of your background, that would be great.
Thank you, Catherine. Hi, everyone. So I have been with East Bay Mud for 34 years, and it's very hard to retire, and that should tell you everything you need to know. I really love what I do, and every year I think I'm going to retire, and then I add a year. So that I really want to say that rangers probably have some of the most fun out here. That and fisheries biologists, they have a lot of fun also. My background, I do have a degree in zoology because I thought I'd be like Jane Goodall and go out in the jungle and study monkeys. Well, I didn't do that. But I do get to look at animals all the time. I saw a bobcat a couple weeks ago down out of Castro Valley. So again, I was a major in zoology from University of Washington. I finished, but I went all over the world and studied all over the world. I then went to a master's program, but I never did the thesis because I had twins. So I didn't finish my thesis, but I did a master's program in San Francisco. The exciting thing about my job is I get to restore creeks. And what that means is I just use a lot of school groups. We do about 30 school groups a year of 30 kids, 40 kids. And we take willow cuttings, just willows that you see in creeks. We just take cuttings and we stick them in the ground and they become trees. And that has been so rewarding. I literally can look at all sorts of watersheds and say, we planted that forest. And it's so rewarding. And it's just beautiful to see how birds come back. Why are we restoring creeks? Why are they in a bad shape? Well, because in the turn of the century and even into when I started here, things were overgrazed. We had cattle on the land and they overgrazed. And also farmers cut a lot of the trees so they could go through and hay farm. So that's why we restore these creeks. Just to wrap up, you know, what's fun about our job is I have a lot of variety. I can be doing a chainsaw one day, riding up a pole the next day, going out on an ATV the third day, you know, working with fisheries on studying frogs, working with all kinds of vendors, every kind of trade in the district, electricians, carpenters, every single trade you can imagine, I have to coordinate and oversee that. We do a grazing program. We have cattle and horses, and we have to oversee that. What's so fun about our job is the variety for me, that I'm continually challenged. And like I said, if rangers aren't retiring and they're staying 20, 30, 35 years, it kind of speaks for itself. And that's, most of our staff have been here for a long time. So I don't want to keep going, but that's basically a little bit of the ranger stuff in a nutshell, and I certainly can answer questions.
Well, thanks, Virginia. So while we have you on the line, we noticed when Stephen Curry presented earlier that there's going to be an upcoming recruitment for a Ranger 1 position. Do you have any advice for somebody who would be going after that position?
Absolutely. So I was excited that we started with the Ranger 1 again. And what I recommend everyone that's interested in this is take classes as soon as you can, volunteer if you can. If you're 18 or over, maybe you're already in junior college. Junior college is all you need to start out. Take classes in forestry, take classes in fire science. That's something that you really need as a ranger, is fire science. It's not mandatory, but I recommend that. And then try to get in with any agency that has land management. So that's East Bay Regional Parks, where you might just be collecting money at a kiosk. Get your foot in the door. Get on with our program as an intern through Merritt College. Merritt College has sent us some interns. We used them last year. We're hoping they'll compete for the Ranger 1. And, they've already had some experience, so they're, it's going to help them a little bit. But again, you can apply for that Ranger 1 and should. And you can certainly reach out to us and ask questions. That'd be fine too. Catherine can give you my phone number or email. And we can help you with more information. If you're handy, if you're good at carpentry, you're good at painting, good at, fixing things, that always helps, learn more about that. And a good ranger has vision, but they're also very handy, and they don't mind being out in the heat. They don't mind being out in the cold, and they don't mind ticks and poison oak, but because they know that it's fun overall. So those are some of my suggestions.
All right, thank you so much, Virginia. So we got a question from one of our participants that was asking about how increase in growth in housing developments has impacted the progress of pipeline renewal. David, do you think you can talk on that one a little bit, and how much pipeline replacement happens per year?
Yeah, absolutely. I saw that. I think Michael Littlejohn asked that question. Michael, the growth in housing development does not impede our progress on pipeline renewal. They're separate operations, separate groups so a separate group that produces the plans for development, and there's a separate group that actually does those installations. So answer to that question is no, the housing development does not impede our progress. How many new pipelines occur in a typical year? I assume you're talking about that for the housing developments. So that's kind of our system extensions, applicants. Historically, we've done about 1 mile or less. It really depends on what comes in each and every year, but that's the historical numbers that we have. So much less than the 20 to 25 miles that we're going for every year in terms of replacements.
Thank you so much. And then we had another question. It looks like Stephen Curry wanted to answer this one. So what is your advice for someone who wants to work in water and has the education but little experience? Stephen Curry, were you, I think you tagged that as you wanted to answer that question.
Yeah, I was actually going to answer it.
Okay.
I clicked the other side, so I'll answer it.
That's okay. I'm sure other people have that question too.
That's just as good. First of all, yes, we have entry-level job opportunities at East Bay Mud. Again, if you go to the job descriptions and salary information, you can see every position that exists at the district. You can filter, you can type in keywords to find the positions that best match what you're looking for. Also, there's career ladder information. You can find opportunities that start at the low level and how you can move up. Thirdly, if you go to our jobs page, ebmud.com/jobs, internship and training programs, we'll give you some information about those more entry-level opportunities. And fourthly, if you are unable to find an opportunity at East Bay Mud, don't be afraid to look at other water and wastewater agencies. Baywork.org/jobs is another jobs board that's used by water and wastewater agencies around the Bay Area. If you get experience somewhere else, you'll eventually find your way back to us, I'm sure. And as I mentioned in my presentation, your experience is going to look good wherever you go. You can also look at parallel sister industries. Virginia was talking about this a little bit, cities and counties, park districts, folks where places where you can get experience, more experience, and then come back and be a more attractive candidate anywhere you go.
Fantastic, thank you. We got a question about how East Bay Med is protecting ourselves from the threat of cyber hacking. Navneet is not in our cybersecurity, but she is a software engineer, so maybe she can talk on that a little bit because we do have people who specifically work in cybersecurity, but she can maybe take that one.
That's correct, Catherine. I'm in programming, but we do have a dedicated group that is focused on dealing with IT security and cyber threat. We have a variety of tools and software that's constantly listening upon our proxy, looking out to get any of these outside threats through cyber security or email phishing that comes through. We catch them using these tools that we have. So that's all I can tell for now, but we can get back to you later more on if you have any detailed questions on that.
Thank you, Navi. Yeah, cybersecurity is a huge priority of ours, especially with how sensitive everything is. So there had been a couple of questions that had come up in the chat that got answered, but I thought that I would at least go back on them just in case anybody had that question again. So there were a couple of questions about high school internships. So Stephen, can you touch on that a little bit about how a high schooler might get involved in a summer internship, and are they paid or unpaid?
Yeah, great. First of all of our high school internships are now paid. So we're happy to make sure that everyone's getting paid for the time that they put in. And we've continued those even the past couple of summers with COVID and the workplace restrictions by having team-based online project-based internships. Those internships are accessed through a set of community partners. Those are community organizations and local school districts that we set up agreements with to refer and provide stipends to students that they refer. We're still in the process of setting it up for this summer, but usually we will include most of the major school districts in both of Alameda County and Contra Costa counties, as well as several community organizations. This year, we're trying to set up the same thing again and trying to expand internships beyond just the summer for high school students. So we're looking into that and different partnerships that will allow us to do that. So that ebmud.com/jobs internships and training programs page will be updated once we have more information, including application processes, should be coming up in the next month.
Fantastic, thank you. Jamie, I was wondering if you could answer a question about working in construction, and what's the toughest part of your job on a day-to-day basis?
Oh, the toughest part of my job is definitely trying to remember what things are called. I'm not the most handy person. And so I kind of had to figure out the lingo a little bit of construction. There's kind of a slang to it. We call, things are called out on the drawing, and then they ask for it and you're like, wait, what? I thought we were using this item. And they're like, oh, it's the same thing. And so just trying to keep up that way. You kind of got to get a little bilingual with it, and just it moves so fast out there. You think you've got one thing down and they're moving on to the next task, and so that it makes it exciting and it really keeps you on your toes. But I would definitely say just learning the lingo and what different tools and equipment are called, because I didn't come from that world. And so it was brand new to me. And so to have it all kind of hit me at once was challenging. And it still is a little bit, but it's exciting at the same time.
Thank you. And Gistand, you had mentioned having a distribution license. Could you talk a little bit more about that and what what types of jobs that would apply for? I don't know. Gistand, you might be on mute. Let's see. Yep, you're on mute. You're on mute again.
Okay, my mouse was like jumping on me. I couldn't get off of mute. Yeah, I do have a distribution license. I currently have a D2, and type of job that will require a distribution license at East Bay Mud, we start for our water distribution crew foreman and general pipe supervisors. As for in my department in operation and maintenance, a D1 is required. And just the way I went about getting my D1, actually, it's very interesting. Is like when we talk about being inclusive and people listening, we brought on, it was a group of people that wanted to get their D1. And I presented it to some upper management that we should bring on a class, and they actually brought in, I forgot his name, but we brought a class on and they taught a class, and it got a whole bunch of people prepared to take their D1, and then everyone went and got their D1. So there is a class. You can also go through Sac State, has a water program there, and they have a whole list of classes there, but different ways to prepare yourself for the distribution license. But jobs that require a distribution license is water distribution crew foreman and general pipe supervisors.
Thank you. A quick question for Eric, our graphic designer. So Eric, it sounds like you had a bit of experience doing graphic design at various other companies prior to coming to East Bay Med. What made you think to apply at a water company?
I didn't think to apply at a water company. That's the graphic designer. Yeah, the first thing you think of isn't necessarily nonprofit government agency. So as I was looking for some place that wasn't, like I said, everywhere else felt like a job. It felt like I worked at a fitness club. I worked at a luxury furniture company where I took photos and then cut the furniture out, and so that they could sell it on these catalogs. And so I had all this experience, but I just had this, not realizing how much I really craved the steady work that when I went on governmentjobs.com, when I was looking for something else, went on governmentjobs.com, and there it was, graphic designer 2, East Bay Mud. My timing was perfect. The application process was asking for a piece of artwork and then like an essay describing your workflow and how you came up with that, but what fonts you used and your layout and all your decision making, and that got me in the door. That was just straight to the follow-up and then panel, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, working for East Bay Mud was one of the best kind of I'm not going to say happy accidents, because it felt like it was meant to be now that I'm here. So
thank you. We got a question for Jamie. So Jamie, you mentioned having work experience in process engineering. If so, could you talk a little bit more about that role?
Oh, okay. So East Bay Mud, they have a really cool program. It's a rotation program. So I actually came in, I entered the district working for pipeline rebuild, and then you get rotated to two other departments. So process engineering is where I went first, and I had no idea what process engineering meant. I didn't know what I was doing. But I ended up working at a pumping plant. And so it has a lot to do with the treatment of the water. And so what we did particularly was we had a system that basically emulated like a small water treatment plant. And so we worked a lot with different experiments. So it's kind of like being in school again. So it's really familiar in a sense. We had different experiments, and this was particularly right when the pandemic happened. So it was the thought of, what if we're ever low on certain chemicals that we use to treat our water? What can we use as alternatives? So we were running different experiments and then testing the influent against the effluent water and seeing, did we really clean the water? Are we meeting the drinking standards? Can we send this out in our pipes to customers for you and me to drink and to bathe with, to cook with, everything that we do with water? And so that was really fun. And so I got to not only learn how the treatment process works as far as like clean water, because I previously worked in wastewater, so I knew how that worked, but clean water, it's totally different. And so what chemicals are used, and then speaking with the operators at the different larger water treatment plants, it made me think about being in school and like my chem lab all over again. And so that was kind of cool, and just keeping a daily log and just running experiments. It was really awesome. So that's what process engineering, the process of how we treat the water.
Thank you so much, Jamie. So we had received a question about mentorship programs and processes. It looks like Stephen is going to answer that one. But also I would like to hear from David Katzev on that, because as a senior civil engineer, I'm sure he's mentored many people along the way, especially with all of his role in pipeline innovation. So David, could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, we do hire a lot of people, and we definitely link them up with mentors. I mean, your main mentor probably will be your supervisor, your direct supervisor, but then we're very careful and methodical in terms of assigning other leaders, maybe outside of the initial group, to help just kind of educate new employees on how to be successful here at East Bay Mud. East Bay Mud's not an easy place to navigate when you enter here from day one. There are lots and lots of different groups, lots of different ways of doing things. And it's critical that you get linked up with the right people to kind of give you the best advice. And we're really conscientious about doing that. So sounds like Stephen's gonna add a little bit more to that.
Thanks, David. Stephen, were you able to add a little bit more to that about mentorship programs?
Yeah, I was typing it in.
Okay. Oh, and then actually,
I love that
could you
question
also,
because it gives me a chance to talk about our affinity groups.
oh, I was gonna ask you to mention that. Thank you.
Yeah, historically is how we've facilitated a lot of our mentorship. We're looking at expanding beyond just what we've run through our affinity group, but our affinity groups are an excellent part of East Bay Mud. Also, in other organizations, they're sometimes called employee resource groups, but we've got Asian Pacific Employees Association, we've got Black Employee Network, we've got Fuerza Latina, we've got Reigning Pride, we've got a new DART with Disability Advocacy and Rights team, and we're developing a women's and a veterans affinity group. So these are groups that bring people together that are either identify with that identity or want to learn more about it. And they're a big part of our culture here.
And they throw fantastic parties and events all the time. Okay, great. So we got a question that says, I'm a licensed wastewater grade 3 and just passed my water treatment 3 test. What ways does East Bay Mud invest in their workers? What are some of the best things you like about working for East Bay Mud? So Stephen, I think you had mentioned before about investing in our employees in terms of tuition reimbursement and whatnot. And I apologize, we didn't get to have a wastewater operator on this evening. I was hoping we would, but could you take that one, Stephen?
Absolutely. This is something that we do both as an organization, as in the ways that we've mentioned, also in our partnership with other water and wastewater agencies in Bay Work. It's a collaborative of 40 plus water and wastewater agencies from around the Bay Area. East Bay Mud is like the second largest. And one of the things that that group does is we leverage the expertise within our organizations to provide test preparation. So folks who are looking to move up in their career pathway can get free training from other folks who are in the industry. Folks who have already passed those higher level tests, they can get insights about how to prepare for those tests and what it's like to work at that next highest level. So that's definitely one of the things, as in addition to all the things that others have talked about in terms of the internal mentorship that's available through your team and through your supervisor. There's that other piece that we're connected to the broader industry to bring career supports for folks.
Thank you, Stephen. So we are at 7 o'clock and I would like to end on time. If you did not get your question answered tonight, I'm about to put up an email address that you're more than welcome to reach out to. Let's see here. And so Water Wednesday at ebmud.com. You can email us any questions that might come to you later on, or if there's something that didn't get answered. I really want to thank all of tonight's panelists for being here tonight, and to Stephen and Clifford for providing all of their great background and insights into working with East Bay Mud. It really truly is a fantastic place to work. I've been here for almost 6 years and plan to be here for much, much, much longer. So we'd love to have you come next time also. So for next month, we're going to be featuring Water Wednesday is going to be searching for the sewage signal tracking COVID through wastewater in the East Bay. And we are going to be posting this recording on our website, Water Wednesday at ebmud.com. No, wait, sorry, ebmud.com/Water Wednesday. Apologies. This will be available within 2 weeks. So again, ebmud.com/Water Wednesday. So with that, again, please feel free to email any last minute questions or questions that come to you later. And thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoyed tonight's program and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.